the Chief Operating Officer at Evergreen Home Loans. I've been with Evergreen for 8.5 years, and I've been in the mortgage industry for 25. I led the project team that developed the CashUp program, which we launched live in February this year and closed our first transaction in May. And so just to go over a high level on the agenda this morning, I'll be sharing how our program works and who we help. In addition, we have a special guest, Nicole Brown. She is the owner of Nicole and Jamie Group with the Keller Williams Greater 360, and she will share her experience with a recent closed transaction using CashUp by Evergreen. After Nicole, we'll have John Endress. He's our area manager at Evergreen Home Loans in Washington in the Seattle area, and he's going to share a case study on how he has helped clients. And at the end, we will have time for Q&A. So who are we? Evergreen Home Loans was founded in 1987 by President and CEO Don Burton. We will be celebrating our 35th year anniversary in April. Don was a real estate agent before starting Evergreen, and our focus has always been on purchase business and how we can add value to the real estate agent. Evergreen is committed to helping the real estate agent succeed by offering more tools to compete. And one of those tools is CashUp by Evergreen. So we provide qualified homebuyers with the ability to make a cash offer without the need for financing or an appraisal contingency, putting them in the strongest position to purchase. So this is how it works. Your home buyer is pre-approved upfront with a fully underwritten credit package. They make a cash offer with no financing or appraisal contingency. We provide a CashUp guarantee certificate, which you will present with the offer to serve as proof of cash funds. So in the third step of this, as you see on the agenda here, Evergreen buys the home on behalf of the customer, and we transfer it back after their permanent home loan is established. So here's who we help. So customers that come to us, oftentimes they really don't start with the CashUp program until they've gone out and they've made a few offers and they're frustrated and discouraged because they can't get their offer accepted. The buyers we help are the ones that are continually losing the property because cash buyers are winning the home. So this works for buyers who have their down payment. And so we do require 20% down. And the nice thing is we offer a rent back option after closing. So it's perfect for someone who sold a home and they need to move in right away. And we actually see this quite often because they list the home and they don't realize how fast the home will go. And we have had people, a few transactions where they were actually living in a hotel. And so to have the ability to close in as little as 10 days and then move them in right after we close the cash purchase has been a really great benefit of the program. Our program is also available in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Arizona, and Nevada. So benefits for the real estate agent. Most of our audience today are real estate agents, and we really thank you for joining today because to be able to get the message out on how we can help you compete and close more deals is really the goal of our presentation today. So in talking to a lot of agents and doing the program, I've had the opportunity to talk to the buyer's agent, the seller's agent, and this is some of the things that I've heard and I've learned. I think almost maybe by now, every agent on our call, I'd say could have told me that they have lost a listing or a sale to an iBuyer firm, a company that will step in and pay cash for the house. We see it with companies like Fly Homes. Zillow, of course, was doing this, stepping in and buying the home with cash. And now we know they're not doing that anymore. But this CashUp program, it really allows you to close more transactions without sacrificing your commission. You can work for the real estate company you currently work for, and you don't have to go to work for an iBuyer company to provide your customers with this cash offer program. And so our program is really unique because we aren't a real estate company. We're the lender, but we support our agents. There's other programs out there, for example, like Ribbon, where they're a middleman between the agent and the lender. So there is no middleman. You work directly with us, and we're not trying to get into real estate. We want to do home loans. We do mortgages. Same thing that when I've talked to other agents, they've told me, we've been working with this buyer for several months now. Examples where a customer had put in 15 offers and they kept losing the home. And so, if this resonates with you, if you've been working with a buyer for a long time to find the right house, only to make offer after offer, and they lose out to higher offers, or they're losing out to cash offers. This product helps your buyer compete, putting their cash offer on top. For home sellers and listing agents, it's an irresistible offer. We deliver a cash-ready, fully approved buyer right to your door. The transaction is completed regardless of whether the buyer is able to complete financing. And we close fast, in as little as 10 days. So now I'd like to introduce Nicole Brown. Nicole is co-owner of the Nicole and Jamie Group with Keller Williams 360, and she is a top 50 producing agent in the county. She started in real estate as a real estate broker in 2014, and she has a BA from the University of Washington, which is where I graduated from too, Nicole. She's a proud Navy spouse of 14 years, and she has 3 children. And I'd like to turn it over to Nicole, and I do have some questions for her. So let me bring those up here in a moment. So Nicole, the reason we've asked you to join us today is because you have closed CashUp transactions with Amber Page, I believe. Amber Page is our branch manager in Silverdale. Yes. And so can you tell us about your CashUp transaction?
So I actually had a unique situation where I had a military couple relocating from Italy that qualified 20% conventional down. They really did have a great amount of cash. So that was a blessing, but they were in a Navy lodge in the hotel, which is very not ideal. And we had lost out on somewhere between 5 and 6 transactions or just offers. We just kept getting beat out. And I'm like, how on earth are we getting beat out with, I think we had 25% conventional offers with ADs, with waived inspections. I mean, we had the whole gamut and we're still getting beat out and it's October. So what the heck happened there? So this wonderful couple, we had talked to Amber and I said, what can we do? And she's like, let's try this. And from there it was, we talked to them, we told them the whole, what the process would be like. And they were all in, with the main thing being that they were in a hotel and they said, we can close in 10 days on something. If we find something vacant, that is ideal. We hate living in a hotel. We need to get out. We need to get settled. And they were just ready to go. So from the time we did that, we put in 1 offer. Once we were done with that, we got accepted the next day and they closed, I think I wrote it down here. They closed in 10 working days, 15 consecutive days. And we actually closed 2 days early from the contract because it was that easy.
That is fabulous. And what you just described is what I see on a lot of the CashUp transactions. That is a great example. So did anything surprise you about the process?
I think that being able to close early. We were looking at, holidays and things like that, being able to even close earlier than I think I put a 10 or 11 working day close date on there, being able to close that fast. It also surprised me. Sometimes you get a little nervous when buyers are looking at fees and things like that. It surprised me a little bit how easy the buy-in was from the buyer to just jump on board, saying, we recognize that this is a hard market and we're so qualified and we even can't find something. But they were so quick to buy in because of that timeline, that it was great. It really was.
So one of the benefits, as you described, is they were able to move in right away. Did the customer have other benefits, or did you see something else that your clients really appreciated about the program?
I think that it was just very easy. There was very minimal things. They had been pre-approved prior, so there wasn't a ton asked of them through that process. So they really could just focus on going to work. And then, the closing, the two-step closing process, where they had to sign just once and not twice, was great. It was just very easy.
So do you see being able to use the CashUp program in your business? And do you see this helping your business as a realtor?
Oh, absolutely. Especially as we're coming into spring and what most people are predicting to be another crazy spring. And we've talked about it a lot in our branch too, is that if you have this 20% down conventional, let's see if that's an option. And it may not be the right option every time, but man, this sure blessed this family to get in as soon as possible. Relocating from Italy is no easy task, and they were ready to be settled. So I think that it's probably a go-to thing for anyone that comes to us and says, we have some cash, we have this. I think that is a go-to thing of just have this as an option if we need it.
So do you have any advice for other real estate agents?
One of the things I found helpful with this one, because you do have to use your title company as of right now, especially over in Kitsap, that's not, using a Seattle title company. I called the agent specifically and said, I have the greatest thing for you. And here's the two catches that are going to happen, but I'm just going to tell it to you very upfront that we're going to use a different title company. So that's what has to happen for this. There's going to be an appraisal, but it's not contingent on the deal. They've already signed something saying that's the case. So I handled the objections up front before I even sent the offer, and then ended up being able to kind of promote the program to her. And she's like, wait, what? She's like, I need to call Amber and talk to her about this. I'm like, you absolutely do. So she kind of got buy-in from my excitement for it, while I kind of handled the couple things that if you were just looking at a cold offer, you may not understand about the program. So I think that because it's a newer thing, handling that earlier really was successful, and then got the other agent excited about how easy this process was going to be for them too.
That's great. That's great advice. Nicole, I wanted to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your experience as an experienced realtor on how this worked for you. Hearing it live from an agent is so valuable. And I really appreciate your time today. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And so we do have a few questions that are coming through in the chat. So I'll go ahead and just take a few of those now before we move into our case study. But we do have a question on, how is the contract written up? Is Evergreen on the contract? So as an agent, you will write the contract as you normally would with the customer, and then you'll put an addendum on the contract, which names Evergreen as nominee for the customer. And so when you participate in our program and your customer is approved for CashUp, we provide you a nice little one-page. Here's how you write your addendum. We do require, in Washington State, Stewart Title is our partner for this program. It is a little bit complex on the internally on the closing side, where they partner with us to actually help give us some reduced fees to keep the expenses down, as well as it ensures we have a very smooth process with a dedicated closer. And we have dedicated people on Evergreen's end. And so that answered the question, I think, about the contract. The closing costs, there's a question about, are closing costs any different? So we actually have done our best to keep the costs down, and it is very minimal. So we do charge a 1% CashUp origination fee. And there's some minimal fees that we incur when we close the cash purchase. We do have an escrow fee and a recording fee. And so we are reimbursed for some of those fees. But the fees that Evergreen charges, very minimal, like I said, a 1% CashUp origination fee. And what we've seen from competitors is we've seen anywhere from 1.5% to 3%. And that is of the purchase price. Our fee is based on the final loan amount. When you look at iBuyer programs, we've seen customers pay 7% in those types of programs where the iBuyers coming in and paying cash for the property, and they're paying a 7% fee for that. And so that is a few of the questions that came in. One question was, well, once the transaction closes, what happens? The loan changes to conventional for the buyer. So actually, when we close the cash purchase, which we do in as little as 10 days, Evergreen is buying the home, closing with cash, and then what the actual borrower's loan is closing afterwards. So when we close with cash, the real estate agents are pretty much done. Transactions close as far as the seller is concerned and the agents. The agents are paid. Evergreen then works to close the borrower's financing, which actually happens very fast. Usually, I'd say the quickest would be 3 days to about 1 week. And at that point, there's not much more to be done. And then I do have a question here. Is this like a contract which is written and or assigns where the contract gets assigned at closing, or similar to what Fly Homes does? And so, yes, that is the instructions that we provide you on how to write that addendum, where will be listed Evergreen Money Source Mortgage Company is our legal name, and it'll say as nominee for the buyer. So it's an and or assigns. We're only on the addendum. So it allows you to write your contract and do everything you need to do as the agent and with the customer and seller. So we really only get involved with the addendum. And lots of good questions. So another question came in. Does Evergreen ask the agents for comps to support the purchase price? So when we approve a buyer for a CashUp, we do evaluate the offer and the property. The danger is that that our buyer is going to offer way more than the property is valued at. And we do see it in our Seattle, Bellevue, Washington market. The last 2 transactions I had, the buyer did offer $100,000 above the list price. We do look at those. We'll look for comps. We use a valuation tool that helps us determine. But what we do to counter this and limit the risk is that our customer is putting down 20%. So we have room if we have a low appraisal. In addition, we do look for that the customer does have additional assets so they can pay down and make up the difference between any shortfall between the purchase price and the value. The appraisals, sometimes are coming in right before the cash close. Most of the time, they're coming in right after the cash close. But those are our 2 kind of safety nets. I'll tell you the last 2 transactions I had, they were both $100,000 above the list price. The appraisals came in at the purchase price. And so it was interesting that we have not yet had any issues with the values, but of course we know that is a risk that we're aware of and that we do our best to counter. And then another question, when does the buyer get possession of the home? So when we close with cash, the buyer does not take possession until the loan closes, which I said sometimes about a week after, but we do provide an option to rent back. And we've had quite a few customers that do this. It's actually much cheaper than renting a hotel. So at the cash close, we can turn over the keys to the customer with the signed rent back agreement. And that's a great option. And let's see, I'm looking at my time here. It's 9:20. So I may want to jump into our next part of the series, which is our case study with John Endress. And then I'll come back and also do more Q&A at the end. And so I'd like to introduce John. So John Endress is our area manager. And John, do you have a specific loan that you would like to share with us, or a borrower experience?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. And if everyone can hear me fine. My situation came down to what everybody else is running into, with the big keyword buzzword of cash offers nowadays. My clients themselves went through 7 homes, got to the 8th home, lost out on that deal. Devastated, as you know, because that's really a tough time for families trying to get out of one home going into other. Well, lo and behold, the 9th home actually turned out to be the 8th home that fell through on financing before. What really worked very, very well in here, and I was very surprised at how it came together. We ended up getting this transaction because we came back on when, the house went listed again. The reality we found out is the seller actually had another home that he purchased. So then it came down to he had 15 days to get out of his house. Well, after multiple offers coming in, and some of the offers that did come in on, the loan side, ours was actually a little bit lower. What the main thing for them is they had the confidence knowing that we can get this done within 10 days. They did end up taking our offer over multiple others. There was another cash offer that came in at the 12th hour as well, too. I spoke with the seller's wife, and after a little bit of discussion, they ended up taking our deal over the other cash deal, which was $5,000 higher than ours, because they had the name of Evergreen behind it. It meant so much to them to not just have someone saying, oh, I can do this in cash, but me saying we can do this in cash and we're going to put our company stamp on it. It made the world of difference all the way around. My clients were able to get in. The sellers were able to get into their new home because they knew after trying to do financing, it was not going to happen. It worked out so well for everybody. I'm still in a little bit of shock. We're actually the sellers, who I did not only dealt with just a little bit. They actually sent me a nice little gift over because they just said that their holidays changed around night and day difference. There's so many different opportunities that are out there for this thing. We don't even know them all. We're going case by case. What can we do? And we have already found out that this thing has more power than we actually really even think. It gives your buyers a competitive advantage that the other peoples don't have. That includes all the other realtors who are not even on, this conference call right now. Now you have a leg up from the next person. If someone's out there shopping realtors, hey, when they do the little interviews and stuff, now you can say, hey, I've got something else for you that somebody else doesn't have. So if that even gives you a competitive advantage to gain a client, that's what this is all about. We're all in here to work together. And so far, everything just seems to be working perfectly. It's not anything rocket science. This is really legitimate. 20% down. We have a 1% fee for doing that. But a lot of times, even with that 1% fee, we come in a little bit lower and we're winning the deal. So there really is no cost to them. And plus, we don't charge origination fees anyways, which most lending companies do. So it's almost really basically a wash the whole way around. It just is going to give them something that nobody else has. So for them, clients are extremely happy. They still reach out. They can't believe everything worked out the way it did. So it was just a big blessing around for everybody.
That is such a wonderful story, John. I appreciate you sharing that. It seems like we have several just like that. So,
yeah, well, you never know, right? You don't know where they're coming. Like I said, everything's different, but we're willing to entertain as well, too. If something that is very close, please send it over. Because like I said, we're the ones who make the decisions on there. If it makes sense to us, we may just entertain that, too. So I just wanted to let everybody know that as well.
That's great.
Thank you.
We have a very great audience today with a lot of great real estate agents with great questions. And so we have time, and I'm going to take some more questions. One question came in about home inspections, and I didn't quite cover that in the beginning because this isn't necessarily like a product training, but I'll share with you how the inspections work. And so the only contingency when you write up the contract, because there is no financing and there's no appraisal contingency, the one thing we ask for is a home inspection, which we find buyers want the home inspection anyway. So we do ask that it is contingent on a home inspection. But we are finding that sellers have a pre-inspection. So if you have an inspection already, we will accept that. We do review that, and all we're really looking for is health and safety issues, any of those red items that show up on the inspection. And we have that conversation with the buyer on, well, what are you comfortable with? Is this something you'd wanted repaired anyway? And I haven't had a home inspection derail a transaction. And we do ask for it because we're closing without an appraisal. And often it's all that I have is that inspection. We're going on looking at the property online. We're looking at comps. And so, yes, we do accept that seller's inspection. And so there was a question too about the addendum, because we do use, like, we're not going to tell you which forms to use. I know Form 34 addendum is what is being used mainly in Washington and the King Kitsap area. So you will use your normal addendum if you don't have a Form 34. There was a question on loan amounts. So this program is available on conventional financing up to the high balance loan limits, which you guys probably saw was announced 2 days ago. The conforming loan limit increased by 18% over last year's limit. And so the high balance limits are quite high as well. So we're up to, I think, like 990,000 on the high balance limits. So we do keep this on conforming to the high balance loan amounts. But as a real estate agent, I think you guys may be more concerned about purchase price. So we don't actually limit your purchase price. In some of our markets, it's easy to find 1.2 million purchase price, up to 2 million purchase price. And so I think my highest may have been 1.4 million purchase price, but the customer, their end financing is a conforming loan amount. And okay, so we had someone who missed the first part of the training and asked what states is this currently available. We will be sending out to everybody a follow-up email and making our presentation available to you. So the states that we do our CashUp program in is Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Arizona, and Nevada. And a question too, and I may have addressed this, but if the appraisal comes in low, is the buyer holding a second with Evergreen? And no, the customer is not. If we were to get a low appraisal after we purchase and close with cash, the buyer is already qualified for a loan amount and loan to value that would cover that we could roll that into the loan more than likely. If not, they have extra funds we've already verified to make up the shortfall. So I think I did cover that. And yes, everybody on the session today, because I had a real estate agent here, Robert Adams, said several of my team agents couldn't join. So we'd love to share this with the other agents in your office, and we will be making this available. And I think it's been pretty popular to where I would love to do another CashUp overview for the real estate agents again. So we'll also be doing that. So prior to making an offer, on the offer review date, would we submit the seller or buyer's pre-inspection and your underwriter has to approve it? What happens if there's any concerns? And so this came from Lise Wang, and where the timing of the inspection is as soon as you receive it, you provide it to the loan officer. Like normally we don't get the home inspection today, right? It's not part of our loan file. We don't have the underwriter review the home inspection. The person that's overseeing the program, Ken McDonald, or myself, we'll take a look at that inspection and see if we have any concerns. Again, health or safety is what we're looking for. And if we have red items, because it seems like on every inspection, we usually do, there's 1 or 2 red items. Oftentimes it's like the carbon monoxide detectors, which we know we got to have those anyway. It might be electrical panel. It could be some old wiring. None of these things have derailed a property. I think I had a property with a broken glass. So we are not, like I said, we're just looking for things that are health and safety. We'll often talk to the customer and say, this is probably something that you're going to repair maybe after closing anyway. The one thing about the CashUp program is it's not for distressed properties. So if you have a property that is in need of major repairs and really needs a renovation loan, this program is not for that. And so I feel like I answered. And so if you have an inspection and need repairs, would the seller need to make repairs, or are you okay with the price reduction? And so both of those things can happen. And really it's up to what the buyer wants. Does the buyer want repairs? Is the buyer okay with the price reduction? We let you guys negotiate that. We're honestly looking for things that could be picked up on an appraisal where an appraiser would call for it to be corrected. And so I think I've answered a lot of the questions today. And looks like we may finish early. I do have another one. If Evergreen takes title to the property and then transfers it to the buyer, is the buyer paying the transfer tax twice? And so no, we are not paying a transfer tax when we close the loan. The property transfer tax is paid by the seller on the first transaction. And so we don't incur it again when we close the loan. So what we will do today, because we finished up our questions and there was a lot coming through, so I tried to get them all answered. If not, we'll be sure that we do a follow-up. So we know many of our agents today were referred to the seminar through an existing relationship with an Evergreen loan officer. So please reach back out to your Evergreen loan officer if you are already working with somebody. If not, you can email us at cashup@evergreenhomeloans.com. Provide us with your name and zip code, and we will match you up with the closest loan officer. And I want to thank everybody today for joining. You will be receiving an email from me or from Ken McDonald with some follow-up on the program and our presentation today. And so thank you very much. I know everybody's busy, and I look forward to talking with you guys again on our next CashUp presentation.